screen. So I have seen this trend absolutely everywhere. It's macrame and it is here to stay, I think. I have seen it in table runners, hanging wall art, hanging plant holders, and today I'm going to do just that and show you 2 different ways that you can also make a macrame hanging plant holder. This tutorial is going to be very simple, very easy, under 10 minutes kind of deal, and you're only going to need 3 things. Macrame, a hot glue gun, and scissors. Not gonna have those drop on me. So this macrame I got on Amazon for $10. It's 4 millimeters around, and I'm not really sure how much is in here, and I'm not really sure how many I can make out of this. I'm hoping at least the 2 that I promised in this video.
Okay, so I severely misjudged how much macrame it would take to make even 1, and after doing this video, I realized I could probably make 50 out of this roll alone.
But we're gonna find out. This is also my first time using macrame. I'm gonna edit out all of the trial and errors, but I'm pretty sure this is gonna be pretty easy. So I'm gonna stop talking and let's just jump into it.
So welcome back to voiceover land. The first thing you're going to do is measure out the macrame. Now I just kind of eyeballed it, and you can see here that this first bit is about the size of a ruler, and I just multiply this 4 times. So you're just going to take your scissors, and this is going to act as a guide for the next 8 pieces that you cut. Now that you have them all cut, you'll see here that mine aren't all exactly the same length, but that's okay because it's not going to matter in the end. I found it helpful to organize your pieces like so, in a circle, so you can easily gather them together in order for you to make your first knot. And I am the queen of guesstimation, and you're just going to make a simple knot. Mine is probably about 5-6 inches from the bottom. Next, you're going to grab the pot that you plan to work with. This is an old anthropology candle that my friends are going to repurpose and plant a cute little succulent in, but for now, it's empty. Even though you're not going to be doing any crazy knots for this one, I still like to separate the pieces so they're easier to work with and you don't get confused. Next, you're going to want to pair them up so you'll have 4 sections of 2. Right on the edge here, you're going to make 4 simple knots. You don't want to tie them too far down, otherwise your pot could potentially fall through. So now that you have these 4 knots, you're going to take adjacent pieces and tie the exact same knot for it to come either right at the top of your pot or a little bit higher. Mine ends up looking as though it might be right at the edge of the pot, but you'll see in the end that it's a good 1/2 inch or so above it. Go ahead and repeat this all the way around. You'll see again that I am just estimating. I'm probably about 8 inches from my 4 knots, and I'm going to make 1 more simple knot. You're going to take out the pot so the macrame is easier to maneuver. Then you're going to want to make a loop at the top, so this has a way of hanging from a nail or a hook. Next, measure approximately 2 feet, and we're going to use this to secure our loop at the top. Tie a basic knot to initially hold this all together, and then take 1 piece and wrap it all the way around. You're going to have some pieces that are sticking out, but that's what the scissors are for. Go ahead and trim this part off. Take that piece and continue to wrap it around so you can hide the edges that you just cut off. And the very last step, take that hot glue gun. You're only going to need a little, but this will ensure that it doesn't unravel. And now, you're done! Now let's move on to design 2. For this next design, I chose to use a mason jar. You're going to take your macrame and use the jar to measure your initial piece. Using that as a guide, you're going to double it over 5 times so you have 1 long piece. Bring the 2 ends together so you form a loop on one side. Then, using 6 pieces, approximately 3 feet long each, you're going to secure them to the first piece of macrame like so. Make sure you don't pull on them too tight because we will be moving them along the first piece. Once you have all 6 tied to the first piece, you're going to carefully shift them down closer towards the loop. Then you're going to take the initial piece, like this, and push it through the loop and pull tight. Go ahead and trim off the pieces that are much longer than the others, but keep them to the side because you'll use them later. Take your mason jar and place this circle of knots directly at the bottom. Again, the knots we're using are not complicated, but I find it easier to work with the stuff if the pieces are separated like so. Similarly to the last design, you're going to take adjacent pieces and tie another little knot. The distances between the bottom and your first knot doesn't matter really with this design. It's totally up to your preference, but this is how I did it. Then you're going to want to repeat this process all the way around. Once you have your first row of knots, we're going to repeat the same steps, but using pieces from adjacent knots like you see here. You're going to tie another little knot, again, up to your preference, the distance, but I did it like this. So if you remove your mason jar, you'll see that you kind of created a star-like flower pattern, which is, I don't know, kind of cute. Using one of the pieces that you set aside earlier, you're going to tie up your pieces of macrame so they stay in place. Again, you'll want to remove your pot or mason jar so it's easier to work with. You're going to measure out another piece of macrame about 3.5 feet long, and you're going to double it up twice like so. You're simply going to place it like so, and we're going to basically fuse it together by wrapping it with, you guessed it, more macrame. To prevent it from moving around on you during this process, you're going to take your other piece of scrap from earlier to tie it together so it doesn't shift. Now it's time to hide all this mess and wrap it up like the other design we made. You'll notice towards the top that there are some pieces sticking out. Now you can totally just trim these off, but I chose to pull up them to create a poof to add to the design. Take your glue gun to secure the scrap piece that was holding together all of your pieces, and then trim off the remainder. To hide this, you'll continue to wrap the rest of the macrame around, again securing it with a hot glue gun at the end. You'll want to trim off any little stragglers that you don't want poking through. You'll also need to trim that scrap piece at the top that was holding together your loop. Since I chose to create this poof, I was simply able to fray them into the poof, not needing to hide them. But feel free to trim it up to make sure that they're all the same length.
Very easy, under 10 minutes kind of deal, and you can even add some of your own personal touches. You can add beads or even different colored macrame. Make sure to like and subscribe down below. I hope to see you guys next time for another DIY/lifestyle video, etc. I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!